Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make a key lime cheesecake. Hey Sugar Spun bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. Today's recipe is by popular request. It is a hybrid of my popular cheesecake recipe and my key lime pie. This took a lot of testing. I've actually been working on it for a couple of years now, but I'm so happy with the results, and I think that you will be too. So let's go ahead and create the base of our cheesecake. Now, in order to get a nice key lime pie flavor throughout the whole thing, we're going to be starting over on the stovetop, where we're going to be creating, kind of like to think of it as a curd. It's going to sort of be like a key lime pie curd, maybe just a key lime curd. Now in a small saucepan, we're going to combine 1/2 cup of key lime juice. Now, if you can find key limes in your grocery store, that's great. They're small limes, you'll want to grab them and use them, but usually I cannot find them in my grocery store, so this is a nice substitute. You should be able to find Key West lime juice wherever your juice is in the grocery store. Now we're also going to need 3 egg yolks for this recipe. So we're just going to crack the egg. Easiest way to drop that white out of there is just pass the yolk back and forth between the shells. Drop the eggs right in our saucepan. And you can either save these egg whites to make something else with them, or you can just discard them. Now in our saucepan, we're also going to add 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now whisk everything together until it's nicely combined. And now we're going to add some butter. I have 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter here. I've cut it into 4 pieces just to help it melt a little bit faster, a little bit more evenly. We'll add that to the pot as well. Now turn your stovetop to medium-low heat, and we are going to stir this constantly. You'll want to use a whisk. Whisk everything constantly until the mixture thickens and may be beginning to bubble. Now while you're cooking your curd, you do want to make sure that you have a heat-proof bowl at the ready and a fine mesh strainer, because as soon as this curd is done, we are going to be pouring it through that strainer, so you just want to have it ready. All right, so after several minutes of cooking, you can hopefully tell on camera that this is just starting to thicken a little bit. It's just starting to bubble a little bit. It's not quite as loose as it was before. It's still pretty thin, but it is not as loose as it was before. It's not as liquidy. So I'm going to immediately remove this from the heat and pour it through that strainer. All right, now this key lime base is going to need to cool before we can prepare the rest of our filling for our cheesecake. You can let it sit at room temperature, but what I like to do is just pop it in the fridge, and usually within 30 to 45 minutes, it's at just the right temperature to proceed. Now in the meantime, we'll get our oven preheating to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Now while that's cooling, we can go ahead and prepare our graham cracker crust. We'll start with 1½ cups of graham cracker crumbs, add 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 1 tablespoon of firmly packed light brown sugar. Now I like to use a fork to just toss everything together, break up that brown sugar nicely, get everything well combined, and then we're going to add 5 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. All right, now toss everything together until all of the graham crackers are nicely moistened. So for today's recipe, we're going to be using a 9-inch springform pan. Now I'm going to go ahead and add those graham cracker crumbs into the pan. And then I just like to use a glass to tamp the graham cracker crumbs onto the bottom of the pan and also up the sides, pretty much as high as I can, about 2/3 of the way up the sides. By putting the graham cracker crumbs this far up the sides of the pan, it ensures that the crust is going to be a little bit higher than the cheesecake batter once we add it. And this is going to be key in keeping our cheesecake from cracking in the oven, even though we are not going to be using a water bath. All right, this is prepped, so I'm just going to set it aside. And once our key lime mixture has cooled completely, now we can go ahead and prepare our key lime cheesecake filling. Now for this recipe, you're going to need a large mixing bowl. And in this, we're going to combine 3 8-ounce bricks of softened cream cheese. And this is full fat cream cheese, that is important. We'll add 1 cup of granulated sugar. Now you could use a stand mixer, but today I'm going to be using my electric mixer. And I'm going to cream these ingredients together until they're nice and smooth. When making a cheesecake, you don't ever want to overbeat the batter, so mix just until everything's nicely combined. All right, next we'll add 1/4 cup of sour cream. We'll stir this in as well. Now you will want to pause periodically and scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl, because you want to make sure that your batter is nice and smooth and there are no lumps, so this is a good way to make sure everything's getting nicely incorporated. All right, now grab your cooled key lime curd or key lime mixture. It's not nearly as thick as a curd. And we're going to slowly drizzle this into our cheesecake mixture, or our cream cheese mixture, with our mixer on low speed. All right, once this is completely combined, we're going to add our eggs. So for the actual cheesecake filling, you're going to need 2 whole eggs. So we'll be using the egg yolks and the egg whites on this one. Crack the egg, and then anytime I am adding eggs to a cheesecake batter, again, you don't want to overbeat them, so I like to give them a little bit of a head start in getting mixed into the batter by lightly beating them with a fork. And we're going to add the eggs one at a time and stir until each is just combined before adding the next one. All right, let's use our spatula to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl again. I want to make sure everything is nicely incorporated. And once it is, we can go ahead and add this into our springform pan with our graham cracker crust. All right, now we'll take this over to our 325 Fahrenheit preheated oven, where it's going to need to bake for about 50 to 60 minutes. Now, once the cheesecake is finished baking, the edges may have slightly puffed just a little bit. It's okay if they haven't though, but a good way to tell that the cheesecake is done is if you give it a little bit of a jiggle. It'll jiggle some, but it'll mostly be set, but you'll still get some jiggle in the center. Now this right here is exactly what I'm looking for, so this cheesecake is finished baking. Now I'm going to let this cool at room temperature for about an hour until it's no longer too hot to touch, and then I'm going to pop it in the fridge where it's going to need to chill for at least 6 hours. Now this cheesecake is a little bit too hot to work with, but fortunately I do have another cheesecake I prepared last night, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that out and we can decorate it and slice and serve. Now no key lime pie is complete without some whipped cream topping, and of course no key lime pie cheesecake would be either. So here I have a half batch of my homemade whipped cream, which I'll make sure to link to, and I'm just going to go ahead around the outside perimeter of the cheesecake and decorate that. And just for a nice little extra pop of color, I like to add a little bit of lime zest. I cannot find key limes, but a regular lime will work for this part. It just adds a nice touch of color. I'm just using my microplaner here, but a zester would work probably a little bit better, honestly. All right, now my favorite part, let's go ahead and dig in. And look at that, it's perfectly creamy. This is the perfect key lime cheesecake. I'm so proud of this one and I cannot wait for you to try it out. When you do, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think, because I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is my favorite part. It's so good. I know we have more to do, but this is too good to not eat all of it.